What's good, guys? So in this video we are going to be building a FlutterFlow app, and we're going to try to build a really useful app that people can use and get some value from. Now, before we get started, if you are interested in building software without writing a single line of code, if you're interested in building some kind of a prototype or starting your own software company, or just you're curious how does software work, how you can build software, but maybe you're not technical, you don't have time to write code, you're not interested in writing code, but you still want to build software, and this is the right channel for you. On this channel, all we talk about is ways of building any kind of app without writing a single line of code. So this could be a web app, this could be a mobile app, this could be a desktop, or anything in between, without writing a single line of code. So if that is something you're interested in, make sure you give this video a fat like, leave a comment below letting me know what you think about the tutorials, if you have any questions, if you have any concerns, if you're stuck on something, and definitely subscribe to the channel so you do not miss any future no-code videos. Having said that, let's get started. Now, there are a couple of ways of building the app. You can build the app from scratch, meaning that you can build all the functionality, all the services within the app yourself. Or you can utilize third-party services using APIs. Essentially, you can utilize services that were created by someone else using APIs. Okay, so in this video, I'm going to show you a shortcut. I'm going to show you how to build a useful app using third-party services with APIs. And in this video, you're going to learn everything that you need to know in order to build a very, very useful app. We're going to talk about APIs. We are going to talk about JSON. We are going to talk about JSON path. We're going to talk about how to get the data correctly in FlutterFlow, how to send it away, how to get it back, how to get the variables that you need. This is going to be a full feature tutorial where you're going to be able to get a lot of value from in order to build the kind of app that you want. And so here we have a diagram. We have FlutterFlow building a real app, okay? So we have our FlutterFlow here, right? Now, if you think about it, FlutterFlow is nothing more than a hierarchy of widgets. That's all it is. And these widgets, they do various things, okay? Some widgets display data. Some widgets receive data, some widgets do some calculations, okay? So there's lots of things happening here. And so here we have the FlutterFlow app, and here we have a third-party service, and we're gonna go out and we're gonna choose a third-party service. There's lots and lots of services that we can use on this cool site, and we're gonna integrate this into our app and create a very, very helpful app, okay? So there are lots of ways of kind of getting an API third-party service, lots and lots of places, right? Unlimited options. But one of my favorite sites is called Rapid API, okay? This is Rapid API Hub. Discover and connect to thousands of APIs, okay? So essentially, you can get a ton of different APIs. Think about this site as kind of an app store for APIs, for services where you can connect your app. So we have flight data APIs, we have free SMS APIs, we have top translation APIs, city data APIs. You have, anything and everything here where you can create any kind of app that you want. Now, what we're going to be doing today, like I said, we want to create a very, very helpful app. Now, the app that I was thinking about, I wanted to create a translation app. So meaning this is going to do real-time translation, okay? And here, if you go in here, you have top translation APIs. You have all of these APIs from all different places that you can use. Okay, so we have NLP translation, we have Google Translate, My Memory, another Google Translate, Just Translate It. And when you're picking your API, especially when you have lots of different APIs, you want to take a look at this metric here. This is the how reliable it is. Okay, so you want it to be high. You want it to be at least 95%. The higher, the better. So this is 98%, 100, etc., etc. Now, I know that Microsoft Translator Text is a very, very good service because I've used this AI service in some of my own projects. So that's kind of what we're going to be going with today. So if we click on it, you're going to be at the screen right here. So if you go into pricing, you can see that you have a bunch of options here, right? This is what I'm currently subscribed to. And another reason I picked this API service is that it has a very, very generous free plan. You have 500,000 a month characters. Okay, so you have a ton of characters. It's a hard limit, meaning that if you go over this limit, you cannot pay extra. You have to go to the next plan. Now, this is going to be enough for us, this basic plan kind of for testing and building our sample app. And so that's what we're going to be doing. Now, the next thing you guys want to do is you want to go to endpoints. Okay, here is where you see what you can actually do, right? So you can break a sentence, you can detect, dictionary lookup, dictionary examples, languages, translate, transliterate. And the reason you want to go here first is that you can see all the options. You can see what the API provides, right? It does provide translate. It has languages, which I'm assuming you get a list of languages, right? Gets the set of languages currently supported by other operations of the translator. So this essentially gives you a list of languages. So for instance, here we have a sample request here. And if we do a test endpoint, we're going to get a result. So here we have a result here. And we have a list of languages. Okay, so here you have the code for the language. And it has 111 languages. Okay, so, you know, if we're translating like a well-known language like Spanish, German, French, etc., it's going to be supported. Okay, but it also supports a ton of other languages, which means that this is going to work for us. Okay, so there is a lot of options here, but what I'm really looking for is translate. So I'm going to open up translate, and we have this post request. Get typically means you're getting data. Post means you're posting data, meaning you're writing data and getting something back. So if you go in here, we have our post requests here. So this is what you need to understand. You have your header parameters here. You have your required parameters. You have your optional parameters. If you scroll down, you have more optional, and then you have the request body, okay? So you got to understand like what type of parameters it supports, okay? Because this is going to give you a better understanding of how to form your request. So header, we need header parameters. We have two required headers, and we also have required parameters. These are going to be your URL parameters, okay? So we have two required parameters here, and then if we scroll down, we have the body. The body is obviously always required in a post request because post request needs to have a body. Now, if I scroll down, right, and I go to this thing here, this is the text that we're going to be translating into. And we have this, and here's where we specify the language. So let's say I want to translate this into Spanish. I know that ES is code for Spanish, okay? It's España. That's ES, okay? You got to look up your code, but I know ES is code for Spanish, so that's fine. Now, if we scroll down, you see it says ES here. Now, this is the text. I would really like to drive your car around. So this is kind of the sample text. What if I say something like, I want to visit Spain, okay? So now the request is formed. If I press this button here, test endpoint, it should go ahead and send the request and get a response back. So let's try this. We do test endpoint, and we get this result here. It detects the language, which is English, which is our source language, and it gives us a translation, okay? And this is perfect, to ES. And now we know this works, okay? Now, the next thing you guys want to do, and this is an optional step, but I highly, highly recommend it, is you want to try this whole request in another app. So I typically use an app called Paw, which is a Mac-based app. And this allows me to quickly and easily kind of test this request in an environment that I control, okay? So here's what we have. We have Microsoft translators. We have the headers. Okay, everything that's specified. We have URL parameters. We have the body. And so if I put the body here, something like, I want to visit Spain. Okay, I have this. And what I do is I press send, right? I just, do control enter. And here you have the response. So we know this works, okay? Now that we tested it, now that we're sure it works, we can go over to FlutterFlow and start building our app. Okay, now we are ready to build our app. So here I am in my FlutterFlow. Let's build this app from scratch. I'm just going to call it Translate App. Okay, create new. I'm just going to say skip all that. And now here we are on this kind of main screen. Now, before we start building the app, we need to configure the API call. So we go in here. We go here, we click on Add API Call. we call it translate API, okay? We're gonna do post, and the URL is whatever the URL is that you see here, right? You see this URL here? This is actually break. We go to translate. This is the URL you want. You're gonna see this on the screen. You're gonna copy it here. Now we need the headers, okay? So if you go back here, we have headers. We have 2 required headers. That is what we need. So we're gonna copy this header here. We're gonna go back. We're gonna add a header. This is the value. I'm gonna add the name in a second. And this is my key. Very important. You're gonna get your key also when you sign up for a free Rapid API account. So we're gonna paste the key. And now we need the names. So I'm gonna copy the name. This is host. And this is gonna be the key here. Okay. All right, that's 2 headers. Okay, we don't need any more headers. The next thing we need is the body. Okay, we need the JSON body. Now, before we add the body, we also need to add URL parameters. Okay, so as you can see, when it sends the request, it has these parameters here. So if you do something like this, HTTP, you see how it attaches these parameters here. 2 required, these are these parameters here. 2 is an array. API version is 3.0. So these are both required. It's not going to work if you do not have that. So what that means is that we got to go in here and we need to enter 2. And 2 is going to be ES. And what is this? API version. Copy that. Equals 3.0. Okay, so we're done here. Now we can add the body. The body is going to be JSON. Okay, very important. And because we're sending JSON here, you want to put content type application JSON. So you want to add another header. And you want to put application JSON. Okay, my app does it automatically. This thing does it automatically, but here you need to do it. Okay, content type application JSON. Now you can do your JSON. So now you're going to go scroll all the way down and you're just going to copy this whole thing. Okay, you're going to copy it. You can format it. But here's the key. This text here is a variable, right? This is a variable. This is going to change. That means we need to add a variable. And the variable is going to be translate text. And it's going to be string default value. There's no default value. And that means we're going to delete this and we're going to click here. Actually, we're going to drag it here. Okay, perfect. And now this thing is going to get replaced with whatever, parameter that we sent to be as the string that we want to translate. Okay, so we're going to say add call. And now it's saved. Now, if we go in here, we can test it. Response, and text. And we want to add our variable. So the variable is, I want to visit Spain. Okay, we're going to say test API call. It says success. This is what we're getting back. Now, this is very important. We need to set a JSON path name because this is of no use to us. We just need this thing right here. That's all we really need. I mean, unless you need the other things, but right now we do not. So what we need to do is we need to actually set a JSON path so that it gets the correct thing. And the way you do it, you can just Google what JSON path is. And really, you can just go in here. So for instance, if I Google JSON path, you have a evaluator, right? This is kind of where you can practice. And all it is basically, it's a type of code. It's a type of, it's a type of syntax that where you specify what kind of data you need inside this JSON. Okay, so for instance, we have this JSON here, but if I just want the first phone number, that's all I specify. I just go like this, $, and I say phone numbers. This is going to give me all the phone numbers. I want just the first one, and then I want type. Okay, and now I get the iPhone, or I want number. Okay, it's a lot more complicated than that. So you can kind of read about it, but in a nutshell, that's really kind of all you need to know right now. So if you go back here, and what I want to do here is, you can see this is an array. It's an array of one object that has all of these things. So I just want the first element of this array, meaning I want the inside of that array. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 0. This gives me this element here. And then I'm going to say translations. And then I'm going to want the first element of translations because this is an array. I want the first, and then I want text. And this gives me the text right here. Okay? So this is very important to know. You want to kind of copy that, or you want to save it somewhere, okay? But right now, it's working fine, meaning we tested it, it's fine. Now we can go to the UI and actually build the app, okay? So here we are in the UI screen, and we are here on the widget hierarchy, widget tree. So we have our column, and what we want to do is we want to add a row, okay? We're going to have a row here, and the first row, the first thing is going to be the input, okay? So in this row, we're going to have an input. Actually, let's create 3 rows. So I'm just going to say 3 rows real quick, because we need kind of like three types of things, right? So in the first row, we're going to have the input. The input, the type of text that you want to translate. So what I want to type is text field here, and I'm going to pick text field. That's the input field here. For the second row, I want just a regular text. That's going to display the end result of the translation. And for the last row, I want the button. Okay, button. Now we can center it, which is something I really want to do. So I'm going to go to row. I'm going to center it here. And I'm going to center this thing, the text as well, by going here, center it. Same thing here. Center it. Center it. Okay. So now we have a simple app. You can, design however you want. You can change this thing here. You could change the app bar style. This one is actually really cool. But right now we have an app. So here it's, it has this hint text. So I'm going to say enter text. And so when we enter the text and we click the button, it's going to go ahead and actually connect to the API service and get the right translation, okay? So this hello world, we don't want it to be set to hello world. We want it to actually to be set from the result, okay? So check this out. So the next thing you want to do is you want to go to the button and you want to add an action, okay? So this is going to be an action. On tap, we're going to say API call. Call name is translate API is the only one, and we're going to pass a parameter. Remember, we have a parameter in there. So we're going to say we want the parameter. Parameter name is text. We're going to say from variable, and the variable is widget state, enter text. You see this? Actually, if you go in here, if you go to enter text, and you change this text field to translate input, and you go in here, translate input. Now it's translating. It's a much better way of doing it. Next, this is going to send the request and get data back. We need an output variable name. We need a name of a variable to create a variable that's going to hold the output, right? The result from the API call. I'm going to say translate output. Okay? So now we have that. Now, this thing here, we have the button. We just need this result. We're going to come in here. We're going to say set from variable. Source is going to say action output, translate output. It's a JSON body. We want a JSON path. And remember, we had that path that we just did. We just pasted it in here. And we know this works. Okay? And we're going to say confirm. Okay? So that's kind of what we have. Now we have, hopefully, an app that's going to take input, send the result to our API, the Microsoft Translation Service, get the result back and display it correctly. And you can do a lot of amazing things with FlutterFlow. It's just incredible. Okay, so that's kind of what we have. Let's say we have label text. You can also have initial value here. Now, if you run the app, hopefully it's going to do exactly what we want it to do. So let's run the app right here. All right, so here's the app. And so if we change this to something else, I want to... And let's see, this is the moment of truth. We want to hit the button. There you go. That's the Spanish translation. I want to change it to something else. What is the time right now? There you go. And that's the translation, okay? That's kind of what we have. Now, you may want to change button to say something else. We can easily do that by clicking on the button, going to the properties, and changing button, translate, okay? And so there's a lot of things that you can do here. FlutterFlow is extremely, extremely powerful. And hopefully this whets your appetite in terms of all the possibilities that you can do with FlutterFlow. It's limitless, really. There's a lot of things that you can do with it. And so I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I really hope I've given you some good ideas. in terms of what you can do next, in terms of where you can take this, how far you can take it. And so if you enjoyed this tutorial, give this video a fat like, leave a comment letting me know what you're using FlutterFlow to do, what kind of app are you trying to build, and definitely subscribe to the channel if you do not want to miss anything related to no code, basically building any kind of app imaginable without writing a single line of code. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you later.